Hey girl, welcome to Overcoming Narcissistic Relationships with Olivia. I am so happy that you're here and listening to this right now because I have a bucket load of questions for you. The first one is, are you currently in or have you previously been in a toxic relationship before? Have you wasted valuable time and energy hoping that he would change? Do you keep attracting men that aren't good for you or falling for the wrong men? Have you been wondering if you're unhappy and deserve better than what you've been getting? Have you discovered that your partner or your ex-partner is a narcissist or has traits of a narcissist? Are you recovering from narcissistic abuse? Are you wondering how to overcome these relationships and break the cycle of going back to toxic love and toxic men? If you answered yes to any of these, then you are in the right place. This is a feel-good podcast for the woman on her journey to self-love, confidence, and worthiness. Each episode, I will bring to you an inspiring guest or an empowering thought that will help you bust through your fears, connect to your soul, and get clear so that you can elevate yourself in your life and your relationships. Get ready for some real talk and to unapologetically take charge and reclaim the life and relationships that you really want. My name is Olivia, and I'm a relationship and narcissist recovery coach. Bringing women together to create positive change within themselves and others is what I do. Are you with me? Here we go. Hello everyone, welcome to today's podcast. Today I have Juliana with me and she's a spiritual business coach, and we actually connected on Instagram and got chatting about what I do and then what she does and the fact that we're both cat lovers and love nature and all this sort of jazz. So welcome to the podcast today, Juliana.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. So when we messaged, we kind of talked a little bit about how you've been in previous toxic relationships yourself and how that was holding you back from actually entering business and then doing well at business. So can you share a little bit about your story with my audience a bit?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I feel like my story on this topic goes back to, I would say either like elementary school or middle school, honestly. So I guess some background on my childhood. Let's just psychologically profile me. I grew up with my mom being a single mom for most of my life. My dad was kind of in and out. Grew up with a lot of abandonment issues, moved around from school to school a lot, moved back and forth between, me and my mom living together and then me and my mom living with my grandparents. So abandonment and feeling the need to be loved was a huge thing for me. And I grew up seeing not the best relationships. I grew up seeing a lot of fighting, a lot of anger, just not a very happy relationship between my mom and my biological dad. And I think because of that, that started my pattern of looking for people to love me that weren't the best people. So I can think of it going all the way back to, let's say, middle school. So, I have been called a serial monogamist. I'm always in one relationship and out of a relationship. And I really started dating pretty much nonstop from one guy to the next in middle school. And it would always be where I was feeling very attached and very, I guess you could say, needy. And these guys just didn't have my best interest in mind. They just kind of lied to me, used me, whatever it was. And then, when I got into high school and college, it was even worse because of the age. So I would find myself, any good relationship that I would enter, I would end up self-sabotaging it because it felt wrong to me, because everything that I knew was just chaos and upheaval, and the swings where the passion's really intense, but then the fights are really intense too. And that became my pattern up until very recently. And I guess I can think of really 3 relationships that before this current one kind of sent me to where I am now. So there was one guy that I dated in college for about a year. We lived together and it just wasn't good. It wasn't happy. We fought all the time, but I was scared to be alone. So I stayed in that relationship. And then when I broke up with him, it was because I went to my sorority formal and he didn't want to come. He told me last minute that he didn't want to come. So I was dateless and I had to go alone. And that was the tipping point for me. And I ended up meeting another guy there that I actually ended up dating. And that was probably the most toxic relationship I've ever been in. He was very verbally abusive. We had really high highs, really, really low lows, just a lot of fighting, a lot of hits to my self-worth. And from that relationship, one of my guy friends kind of talked me out of getting out of that. We were on and off for a bunch of times. And then this guy friend of mine finally was like, okay, you need to break up with him. Then I ended up dating that guy friend, and then that turned toxic. And then after that relationship broke up and shit hit the fan, sorry if we're not allowed to cuss on your podcast. Hope we are.
Please do.
Okay. Then shit hit the fan with that. And I was living in Las Vegas at the time, and I was like, I need to get away. So I went and I spent the summer with my high school best friend in Austin, Texas, which is where I went to high school. And I just did a lot of personal development, a lot of going out in nature and journaling and just working through my shit and figuring out, like, why am I doing this? Like, I am worth a lot more than these patterns. I don't need someone in my life to make me happy. And I think the biggest thing that I realized was just that I was happy being alone. And then I met my boyfriend, who I'm with now, and it's a very, like, happy, stable relationship. So sorry, that was long, but
No, I like that. So you've had all these like patterns of like serial monogamy, and now you've kind of found the guy where it's like it was all toxic previously, and now you've found someone that's different and things are different this time.
Yeah, now it's like very just calm.
That's awesome.
For the most part, yeah.
Nice and stable. Because from what you told me, like from just listening to that, because I can relate to some of that as well. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's funny when you kind of connect the dots. So, you know, growing up with your situation, you felt like this abandonment feeling. And so what we can do is, because that causes us pain, we obviously jump into relationships really quickly because we're scared of being alone. We don't want to be feeling abandoned. We don't want to be fearful of just sitting with ourselves because we don't like that feeling. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so then you can choose the wrong partners just to fill up that little need, but it actually kind of sets you back. Do you know what I mean? And then if you're not feeling good enough, that's like two of the biggest human fears that get met, you know, because humans have got like 2 to 3 main fears, and that's like being alone, not feeling good enough, and not belonging. And so from your story, it sounds like you were driven by 2 of those main fears. And then you've kind of learnt your worth throughout all that journaling and getting in nature and all that sort of stuff. What other things helped you kind of move through? Like, what helped you realize, okay, so this is what's happened. This hasn't worked for me, and I'm not really liking that anymore. How do I get, you know, through your shit, so to speak, to where you are now?
Yeah. So I think really the biggest thing was just actually taking a step back and realizing what I was doing to myself, and also realizing that this is not what a healthy relationship should look like. I think I had this expectation that a relationship should be super intense, super passionate. And while with most of these toxic relationships, I had that on one end, it was completely the opposite on the other. And it was very destructive. So it was like fire and gasoline, right? Like burns hot, but then it burns too hot in a way. And I think just being able to really observe that and ask myself truly what I wanted out of a relationship and what a healthy, stable relationship would feel like, I think that was the biggest thing. I did a lot of releasing, a lot of figuring out where these fears came from and just working through them, and then also learning to enjoy being alone. I think that was the biggest thing for me. And just another thing was also just being able to realize that I'm worth more than what I was previously allowing myself to be worth. And that really just came from actually taking the time to be by myself for a while. And really that whole summer, I just took time to like do a lot of self-reflection and figure out what I had been doing and where I wanted to go from there.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. That's so lovely. Well done. What kind of got you realizing that, okay, so this wasn't a healthy relationship? Because you're kind of like, I've realized my worth. So what helped you realize your worth?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I like to dig deep.
Yeah. I think I had always known it. I think I had always known that I was worthy. I think that I've always been pretty confident in myself, but for some reason, when it came to relationships, I was making all sorts of excuses for the guy, or I was holding on to the good times too much. So I feel like it was like, even though I knew my worth, I think I was afraid that I wouldn't find anything better. And I think what helped me break out of that and what helped me really realize knowing my worth was knowing that I could be alone and still be happy. That was the big part. It wasn't really necessarily me feeling like I wasn't worthy of better love, but I think I was scared that I wouldn't find it, or I was scared to let go and regret letting go. And it was like the FOMO, the relationship FOMO almost.
I love that, relationship FOMO. That's a really good term. I might start using that in my social media.
Yeah, like there was a really big part of me that was addicted to the cycle of pain and passion.
Mm,
So, because that's like what I said earlier, like if I would get into a stable relationship, I would find it boring and then I would self-sabotage because there wasn't like that intensity that I was craving. So I
yeah.
had to overcome that craving for the intensity because it was like a drug almost, like it was
Yeah.
toxic and not healthy, but I was craving it.
Well, literally, like if you think about, for example, sugar, and this is something
Mhm.
I've learned recently. So sugar has been shown to be an addictive chemical to the body now, like especially artificial sugar. And so at first it looks nice and it's sweet and we put it in everything and it's readily available and we have it and then it makes us feel like crap. Do you know what I mean? Like in the moment when we're eating like that donut, we're like, yes, this is the best donut. And I love pink donuts. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. And you'll love it. And it's like, it's satiating you and it's satisfying you and you're just loving the whole experience, and you're getting the smell and you're getting the taste and all sort of stuff. So it's really satisfying your senses. It's really intense. And then like an hour or half an hour later, you start to have that, crash or so. And, you're kind of not feeling as good. And then you want another hit of that donut because you're starting to get addicted to the flavor of the donut and the sugar within it. And so, of course, you have this up and down experience all the time, right? So kind of is like an addiction. And like toxic relationships can be like that because you've got the high, as you said, the highs are really high, the lows are really low. And so you've got that intermittent reinforcement of like, it being really good and then it being really shit. Do you know what I mean? And
Oh,
when it
yeah.
gets shit, you want more of the good stuff. So you start, working harder to get that, sugar hit, so to speak. So it is like an addiction. And so, when you look at like a muffin that's like sugar-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, taste-free, all that, you're kind of like, I don't really want that muffin. That's boring. I want like the pink donut. But
Mhm.
the muffin is the one that's actually really good for you and it's going to help you live longer and, make your body work better and, all that sort of stuff. Like you're not going to have the cravings that aren't good for you and all that sort of jazz. So that's the way I kind of think of it. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, and I ate 4 cookies today, so I'm, like, sitting here thinking about
But that's okay because you've got your gym clothes on. So it means you have worked
Yeah,
out or you're about to work out, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that with us. Like it's nice to have such like a vulnerable conversation about, the addiction and that sort of thing. And, with my clients and even in this area, I find that women are really scared of being alone. They're really scared of one, not being good enough and being alone. And so what I do with them is to kind of help them realize like what you actually did, Juliana, was from your previous abandonment issues that had caused a lot of negative feelings by the sound of things. And then you were able to work through that and, associate being alone, so to speak, in quotation marks, as being a good thing. So you just change the association. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So you did that through journaling and asking yourself, I'm guessing, different questions and trying to change the meaning of being alone.
Yeah, and also just finding things that I really liked doing alone. I think part of what was really helpful about me coming out to Texas is that I love being in nature, and there's a lot of really beautiful nature here in Austin. So I would spend a lot of time at the park, just around nature, swimming, hiking, whatever it was. And those were things that I genuinely liked to do alone. And I think that that really helps me break out of it because in Las Vegas, where I was living before, there's really not a whole lot of things to do alone there.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big thing, was just finding activities that I actually enjoyed doing by myself. And then once I found those activities, I realized that I liked doing other things by myself and that being alone really isn't so bad.
Yeah. So you were hiking, swimming, and what else were you doing that was physical? All those two main things?
I was doing a little bit of yoga then, and yoga is great. Yoga definitely helps me with everything in life.
Grounds you, centers you.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense because I've just come back from seeing Tony Robbins in Sydney at Unleash the Power Within. And one of the main things that I took away from his event again was changing your state. So what can happen, like when we're kind of beaten down by all these shitty relationships, we're feeling stuck, we're feeling, like trapped and it's like all too much. We don't know what to do. We should leave, we should stay, blah, blah, blah. What can happen is that we obviously like let exercise slip away or we stop moving. So when we actually stop moving, we aren't able to make best decisions. So if we're actually changing our state, getting into a high vibe state, moving, creating more energy, such as hiking, dancing, going to the gym, running, swimming, going to the beach, whatever it is that changes your physical body, you're actually at a higher vibe frequency and then you're making better decisions, right? So one thing I recommend as well after coming from that is like really moving your body and getting into state. So for me, for example, like even though I'm like healed and recovered, like for me to make the best decisions and get the most quality of life and utilize my energy the best, I've decided to go to the gym like 4 times a week, right? Because I know that the state that I'm in, I want to live in a beautiful state every day, right? So like moving my body will help me do that. And it all needs to start with your body. So when you were telling me just then that, you know, you did activities and you did yoga and swimming, all sort of stuff, like that is so great because on a subconscious level, you're already doing that, you know, in some regard. So like, awesome work. And the cat's
Thank
rolled over.
Yes, Loki just decided to walk across the computer. He does that.
So Juliana's a cat lover, everybody.
Yes, I have two.
Yes.
Loki is very loud.
Yeah.
Come follow me on Instagram. There's lots of stories about Loki.
Do you have an Instagram account for your cat?
I don't, but they're on my stories a lot.
Yeah. So it's
I've
just,
considered making one, but like it's hard enough to keep up with my own Instagram.
I know, right? I actually made a cat Instagram account. Side note, everybody, this is not relevant. But I actually made a cat account. And then when I actually launched my business, I was kind of like, I don't have the time to be uploading pics of a cat all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just going to do my own stuff. And so it's still sitting there, but I don't actually use it. Like, I don't have the time to worry about that now. But so many famous Insta pets, you know?
Yes.
Cool. So when it came to, so obviously you worked through all your stuff and then you've attracted, you know, a better relationship into your life. When did the business sort of stuff start? So was that after you got out of the toxic relationships?
Yeah. So my business started, I guess let's really say like the beginning of 2019 is kind of when I actually got stuff together. I quit my job October 2018. So coming up on my 1-year anniversary of being 9 to 5 free.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
Yeah, that's really
amazing.
exciting. It does. It feels really good. And I'm finally like at the point in my business where I'm like starting to see a lot of results. Like I'm scaling really quickly. So that feels really good.
Well done.
Yeah. So with my current relationship, we have been dating since July 2017.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So for a while, I mean, we've worked through a lot of stuff like together too, but yeah, my business really started about a year into our relationship, or I guess a year, like a little over a year. I don't know. I've always kind of like had this idea in the back of my mind of doing my own thing, becoming an entrepreneur. And then it just took the right things to happen in life to really push me in that direction. It took me like getting really unhappy with my job and finally building up the confidence that I needed to actually do it. I went to yoga teacher training, and that was actually my first business idea, I guess, was to just like be like a yoga teacher entrepreneur with holistic healing and tarot reading and all of that. And then eventually that transitioned into spiritual business coaching. Well, first it transitioned into mindset coaching and then the business thing, because I realized, okay, let me combine everything that I'm really good at. And my background is in business. Like I was working as a social media manager, social media marketing, copywriting, blogging, all the things. So I combined all of it, I guess is the short story of that.
That's awesome. Well done.
Yeah,
that's
thank
amazing. You know, if you hadn't have worked through all that stuff from, you know, all the crap from your relationships, how do you think it would have shown up today? Do you think you'd be doing a business? Do you think it'd be successful or not? Do you think you'd be where you're at or no?
I don't think I'd be where I'm at. I think that the more I grow, the more that my business grows. And I see that to be true with my clients too. I think the more we work on our personal development in all areas of our life, the more we are able to grow in our business as well. Because our business as entrepreneurs is a direct reflection of us, especially if we're, you know, a one-woman show or maybe you have a few team members. It's direct reflection of us and our energy.
100%. I agree. And I've seen it shown up in my in my business as well. Like a client come to you with an issue and you're like, oh, wow, that's been reflected in my life at some point in the past or whatnot. And you're like, cool, I kind of know how to guide them through this. But it's funny how that is reflected directly back at you. And yeah, so I think like when you say that your business grows with you, I love that, because I remember just backtracking a little bit from my history. When I was in nursing school, or university, we call it here, I remember, you know, I did it over 4 years instead of 3. And I was just remember thinking, oh, I just want to know what I have to know so I can just get it done and do it and have like that level of certainty of just like knowing what I need to know and then just being done with it. And in uni, they were talking about how you need to be a lifelong learner. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't really want to do that. That sounds like a lot of hard work. I just want to know what I have to know. Anyway, it was through my last year there that I realized that that is such a bad mindset, because nothing in life is certain. The only thing that's certain is that change is always going to occur, and that you've got to either grow or you stay stuck. Do you know what I mean? Or you go backwards. And so for me, my motto now is like, I always have to keep learning, and I really enjoy learning. And when you have a business, it's kind of imperative that you keep learning, because otherwise your business will die. You know, if you don't grow, your business doesn't grow. Don't you agree?
I totally agree. I think that the more I grow, the more I do see actual growth in terms of, you know, revenue in my business, in terms of followers. Every new level that I reach as a person, I see my business reach a new level too. My biggest jump recently was when I came back from a really good in-person event that I was just really jazzed up from. And I came back and I signed 3 clients like over the next 2 days.
Really?
And
That's amazing.
yeah, and I totally attribute that just to my energy being in the right space.
Yeah, that's right. Like if you're in a high energy, you'll attract more of your, soul clients. Do you know what I mean? It really
Yeah,
comes from the energy. It's our most precious. I really believe it's our most precious resource, apart from time, which is the fairest resource of all. But yeah, like I see it all the time. Like if you're in a low vibe, you just don't seem to attract as much. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're in a higher vibe, that's why I'm talking about changing your state all the time, because that's what actually gets people more drawn to you. Do you know what I mean? And then you're more authentically able to give your message and all that. Like it's such a huge component, isn't it?
it is. And that's a lot what I teach, everyone in my audience and my clients is that if you're trying to attract the type of client that you want to work with, it really comes down to 2 things, energy and strategy. You need to be in the right energy because those people are going to feel it. Even if you have amazing words and your sales page is beautiful and you have the words on there that should speak to your ideal client, if the energy behind it is not right, people are going to feel that whether they realize it or not, because we're all energetic beings. Everything is energy and we can all feel energy even, miles away and through the computer, through the phone screen, whatever it is. So I think that's why as a business owner, your energy is very important.
100%. I so agree. And I didn't realize that until this year when I launched my business. Do you know what I mean? Like it really is such a highlighted part of business. And for the ladies that are listening, when it comes to healing, recovering yourself, like obviously there's a point in time where you've got to feel all the crap and you've got to, sit with that. But as I always say, you don't want to be sitting in that space forever. So get moving. Even if the only thing you accomplish that day is just moving your body in some capacity, just do that. Do you know what I mean? Like you will feel better. You'll have we call it the awesome sauce, where you've got like the endorphins, you've got all the happy hormones, oxycontin, all of that beautiful stuff. And if you're getting that channeled throughout your body, that affects your brain and it lights it up. And then you energetically change and then you start getting a fresh perspective on things. You're not feeling like you're in a slump, sitting at home, on the couch watching Netflix for 8 hours a day or so, feeling alone, feeling depressed, feeling like you're not good enough. Instead, you're going out there, getting into the sun, you're feeling the sand between your feet at the beach, you're going for a swim, you're getting yourself out and about. And so change your state. That's one big takeaway for sure. Have you got any main takeaways, Juliana, about women that can actually heal and recover themselves? Like what are the main points that you would suggest that they do to help themselves through this?
I totally agree with moving your body. I think that you just need to get the energy flowing, and moving your body is a great way to do that. Another thing that I have really loved is just journaling and doing automatic writing. So just let yourself take a pen in hand and just write whatever comes to mind. Don't think about it. So it's like automatic writing, and it's just getting all of the subconscious crap down on paper. And a lot of the time it's not even going to make sense if you go back and reread it. But just getting that out of your head, out of your energetic field, out of your subconscious mind and onto paper helps you to move through it.
As a little girl, I kept a diary and then I kind of I didn't really keep it up, right? And it wasn't until I started working with my business coach this year that she's like, you really need to journal this stuff out. And I'm like, I had all this resistance to it because I'm like, it feels like a waste of time. And I'm like, it just, I don't want to be re-experiencing all the bad stuff from that day or whatever. I was like, I just don't want to do it. And she's like, it's not about whether you want to do it or not. She's like, it's about the energy that's trapped within you. She's like, if you have this pent up negative energy inside, it's either going to stay there or it's going to get stored. And she's like, by journaling, you're actually getting it out of your body, out of your mind, energetically releasing that. And I was like, I never thought of it like that. And then once I started doing that, I was like, okay, I can actually start to see the value in it now. Because in the personal development world, in the spiritual world at the moment, it's all about journaling. And I'm like, But this year I'm like, okay, I actually see why everyone keeps raving on about this topic all the time.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways to journal, but I'm just a really big fan of automatic writing when it comes to working through stuff and being able to release it, because it helps you to get into your brain and into whatever's going on in your subconscious. And then if you do go back and reread it, a lot of the time you might be able to figure out, some of your patterns and what you do need to work through. And then it'll help give you a starting point to start that work and find where you can question yourself, where you can start to change these beliefs and these habits and these patterns. So that's why I really like journaling. I guess if I had to list another thing, I am a big fan of essential oils because I do think it helps with that change of state. Because if you find an oil that you resonate with on an energetic level, it can really help to improve your mood. So I'm always using oils to like motivate me, to calm me down, whatever. I'm a big fan of just using different tools to work with my energy and get my energy into the state that I want to be in. And
Yeah.
Loki meowing again.
I really like the natural options as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really like, the idea of essential oils because I use them as well. Like, I put them in a diffuser at night to help calm me down. Like, and actually put it on about an hour before I go to bed so it fills the room with the odor, like the beautiful. And then I just have my low lit lamp, and then I'm kind of able to kind of calm down and then slip into a sleep. Do you know what I mean? And there are oils to motivate you and get you hyped up, and there are other oils to calm you down and, all that sort of jazz, which is really cool. I like that. Just cycling back to the journaling thing, for the ladies that are listening, if you're someone that, gets out a journal and a pen and you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know what the frick to write or what to even say or where to start, even just asking yourself the question of like, how do I feel right now? And just labeling feelings and write them down. And then the next question you can ask is, why do I think I feel that way? And then write that down. And then what are the most feelings that I feel on a regular basis, usually every week at the moment? And just start there, because I know for me, like, I like the idea of automatic writing as well, but if nothing comes to mind and you're just sitting there feeling like crap, just ask yourself some basic questions. And there's heaps of prompts online as well that you can look up to, which kind of get you started. And then once you've kind of got that out of the way, you're able to do it really automatically. You just kind of like sit down, boom, here we go. It all comes spilling out like word vomit in the nicest way possible.
Yeah. I really like doing that too. Whenever I find myself in an emotional funk, which, as I've gone through this personal development journey, I've gotten a lot better at actually realizing when I'm in an emotional funk. I will do that. I'll ask myself why, because a lot of the time I can't pinpoint, what was the trigger that got me feeling this way. And sometimes it's something as stupid as like someone was rude to me at the store or someone cut me off in traffic. And then, I ask myself the question, is this worth being mad about? Can I do anything about it? If I can do anything, what can I do to fix it? And a lot of the time it just releases it because it's either something that is not worth my time to worry about, or that it's something that I can't do anything about anyway at the moment. So
yeah. And it's funny to say that too, because like I've noticed now that I'm more aware of my state and how I come across on an energetic level, when I go to the grocery store and I'm buying my groceries, when you get to the checkout chick or the checkout guy, it's kind of like, hey, how are you going? And I'll be like, I'm great. How are you? And like, if you just change your tone and just like smile, they tend to do the same thing. Whereas if you're just like, yeah, I'm good. How are you? Okay, yeah, I'm good too. Thanks. Grab your stuff and off you go. But if you even just do that, it actually gets the person thinking, oh, wow, they're quite a happy, bright person. And I know this because when I was doing medicals at my old job, it was a very repetitive job. I was fitting like 8 medicals in a day. It was a bit brain numbing, to be honest with you. And, we're always pushed for time. And a lot of the clients that we saw were unhappy, grumpy, men in industrial sort of work sort of thing for them. Like, I hate to generalize, but that's generally how the clients kind of work. And so, of course, I found that I was more at effect. So I'd let their energy rub off on me. And it's like I would absorb their energy and it would make me feel shitter. Whereas when I was able to take control, like if I was exercising, eating well, getting enough sleep, connecting with loved ones and doing all the things to look after myself, fill up my cup and, show myself self-love and all that sort of jazz, when I'd rock up to work and I'd start the appointments, I'd actually be in a much higher vibe state. And so I'd be like really happy for them to be here and come in, and then they would actually sense that and it would lift their mood up as well. And so it just made the day so much more enjoyable. And you just don't know how your energy is going to affect someone else, And when you're in a narcissistic relationship, what can happen is we're so often affected by that, toxic partner's energy, being up and down all the time. We feel like we're up and down all the time with our energy. But if you can find a way to stabilize your energy in a high vibe state and also allow yourself to feel shit when you need to and move through that, then you're going to be an overall happier person and have a better quality of life.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, Juliana, where can the ladies find you on social media?
Yeah. So my Instagram is the spiritual badass. There's little, dots in between. So it's the.spiritual.badass. That's my Instagram. And then my Facebook group is really where it's been popping lately. So come hang out with me in my Facebook group. If you just search on Facebook, the Spiritual Badass Sisterhood, it should come up, but the whole name is the Spiritual Badass Sisterhood for female entrepreneurs. So come join that. I would love to have you in there, do lots of free trainings, and that's really where it's at, is my Facebook group. So
I love that. It's such a great title too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
So those are the two main places that you can find me on social media.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Is there anything else you want to add today?
I don't think so. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. It was so lovely to connect and just like set up a podcast so easily and so quickly, really. Like,
Yes.
and I personally like have a big passion for business. So kind of merging the two of like, you know, narcissistic toxic relationships and helping turn that around, and then actually like the business entrepreneurial sort of stuff, like, oh, it's like totally my passion. So when I came across you, or you came across me and messaged me and you're like, hey, I love your stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, she's a businesswoman as well. I have to have you on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really do think it's all so connected. Like every part of your life is going to show up in every other part of your life, right? So if you're dealing with some relationship issues, then you're probably going to be dealing with some health issues, your mindset issues. And if you own a business issues. It's all so reflected.
Yeah, intrinsically linked. Business and relationships are intrinsically linked. So you're right. If you're suffering in your relationship, that it can affect your energy. And then, of course, that can affect your business, because your business, like, you're the life force of your business, really. If you're a solo entrepreneur, it all comes down to you. So if you're in a shit state, you're not feeling good, things are affecting you, that will flow over. Even if you try to not let it do that, that unfortunately can happen, you know, unless you're actually doing something about that, I suppose. So, yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining, Juliana, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Thank you for listening, sister friends. For more support and one-on-one coaching to help you through your own recovery journey, or if you're wanting to start a business in this niche, then you can email me at oliviapowellcoaching@gmail.com. That's OLIVIAPOWELL coaching@gmail.com. To connect with other like-minded women who might be in the same stiletto heels as you right now, head to my online virtual space on Facebook by searching Overcoming Narcissistic Relationships with Olivia. Just answer the entry questions and feel free to invite your girlfriends. Or come and hang out with me on YouTube or Instagram, where you will find pretty pictures, uplifting and thought-provoking quotes, and tons of value that you don't want to miss. If you enjoyed this episode or something has resonated with you, then be sure to subscribe to this podcast so that you're informed of every single episode that comes out and so you don't miss a thing. Share the love by passing this on to someone that you know who would benefit from hearing the free content of this podcast. And I would really appreciate it if you would leave a review on iTunes, because your review will help the success of this show, so that it has the potential to reach many more women who would benefit from hearing this message too. For more beyond this podcast and places to reach me, please see the show notes for all the links. Until next time, much love, Olivia.